Hello, everyone, and hello, Jimena. Great to see you, and thank you for joining me.
Hello. Oh, my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, let's jump in. Let's just make it a conversation. I wanted to give a general update about, uh, what I what my focus is going to be, and I invite everyone to participate in everything that I'm doing, and what I think the general priority should be, just from my perspective. And please give me your perspective. We don't have to agree and we can talk about it. That's kind of the whole point. So, from my perspective, what's most critical right now that there's this critical mass of us coming together and talking about all these transformational topics, is that we uh, enter into various serious conversations about strategy. What is the strategy by which we envision humanity going to accomplish all the goals that we need to accomplish? Saving the Amazon, right? Cooling the planet, stopping the destruction of the biosphere, and caring for humanity so that humanity in turn can become a caretaker species, right? We need to talk strategy because here, let me just pause and welcome Christopher. All right, welcome Christopher and welcome Marco. So picking it up where we're talking about the importance of developing a strategy, right? Um, for humanity to rally behind. Ultimately, you could call it a movement, call it whatever you will, but we need to figure out, what do we need to focus on first, second, and third? What's the first thing we need to focus on, right? And in terms of like a major project that we can push through all the way that will change the course of history, and it might be two or three in parallel, fine. Let's divide ourselves among those two or three. But what are the major vectors, right? So I first want to make a case for us taking on this topic of strategy and being willing to go there, because there's a lot of great projects out there, a lot of great projects and ideas and components of solutions and actual solutions and all this. That's all great. But what's the script? What's the strategy? What's the story? What ties it all together? And in what sequence do we need to set the dominoes, V for Vendetta style, to get them to all tumble, right? So what I'm saying is, let us get really serious about strategy. And of course, we can talk about it in a playful way. I'm not saying we have to be serious, but I'm just saying we need to carve out time to talk strategy. How are we going to get this done? Right? And when I think about strategy, I think about trim tabs. I think, like, what are the jujitsu moves, that doesn't necessarily take a lot of energy, but that changes the course of things, right? A trim tab that changes the angle of a rudder, which then changes the trajectory of the entire ship. So what are these very specific moves that we can take? Now, in a subsequent recording, I'm going to talk about a specific strategy, which I'm just going to call it the food first strategy, because it really centers around food first, boom, feeding everyone, and then going from there to really great places, including collective superintelligence and including cooling the planet. Okay. But, so that's one specific strategy. All right, great. What's your strategy? What do you think we should do? If you were, in charge, what would you mandate that we do? What would you say? This is what we got to do first, because if we do this first, then that will enable us to do this and this and this. What's the plan? What's the strategy? What's the big picture strategy? We need to talk about it. Now, I propose that the way in which we talk about big picture strategy is precisely through a healthy, thriving network of conversations. Now, think of the press conference as kind of like this big fire hose generating all these new conversations, debuting them, right? And then snack bar being the Olympic-sized swimming pool that catches them, organizes them, and all this. So we're constantly generating and debuting more and more conversations and refining the conversations that are ongoing, providing updates and everything. That's what the press conference is all about. And then snack bar organizes them. So why am I mentioning all this? Because it is in this network of conversations, this organized network of conversations, that we can find the conversations about strategy that are happening. And we can join those. Or if we see that all those conversations or strategy are missing something really important, well, we can start a conversation about that and say, hey, you're missing this. That's what I'm going to talk about in my food first strategy in the next video that we do. Right? So my basic point is this: in order to really get good at strategy, and the thing is, strategy is going to be something that's constantly going to evolve. So even if we start with this strategy, we say, yeah, this is the one. We start a week later, we're going to update it. So it's going to be constantly evolving. It's not a static thing, right? So we need to get good at strategy. Does that make sense? We need to get good at strategy, at evolving strategy, at figuring out strategy, because the waters are, I hate to say it, but the waters are about to get rough. So we need a really good capability at developing strategy. And I believe that essential for that is the network of conversations. That's the ultimate framework for being able to develop all kinds of ideas, all kinds of solutions, and yes, all kinds of strategies that bring together different solutions, right? So that's my proposal to the world, is that you join me not only in developing strategy, but in developing the very matrix that will hold all these strategies and give us an opportunity to compare them and discuss them and contrast them and debate and discuss them, and ultimately figure out what are we going to go with. And again, if it's 2 or 3, okay, fine. It's then who wants to go with which of these 2 or 3, right? But it's time for us to get serious about what we're actually going to do. And I hope you love the strategy that I have to propose to you in the food first strategy. But, come with a totally different strategy if you have one, right? And let's then compare them. See, can we combine them? I don't know, but let's talk about it, right? Because I think that out of this, humanity can find a really amazing strategy that people can get really excited about and that can take off exponentially. And exponential is one of the key criteria. It needs to go exponential because we're running out of time really fast. So we need powerful, fast solutions implemented in a sequence that in aggregate, if you look at the whole of it, goes exponentially. All right. So we have a monumental task of coming up with the best possible strategy for moving forward. For me, this excites me. I'm excited that we get to explore and find the best possible strategy. And the press conference, and hey, Christopher, and snack bar that we're going to be developing are central to this. These are like fundamental pillars of many, right? I'm not saying these are the ultimate, that's it. No. Let there other platforms, other systems, other pillars, let them emerge, right? But I'm just saying these first basic ones of the press conference, the conversation, the press conference, and snack bar are really fundamental, right? To have a thriving network of conversations focused on saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth. And partly to model that, at some point soon, I'm going to stop this recording and start a separate conversation promoting the food first strategy, right? Pop, 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 conversation. We need to flesh out the whole network of conversations, which will be clustered around whole taxonomies of topics that together, hang together, work together, provide a framework. It's just so fascinating to be a part of one of the first groups of humans to be talking about this and looking at this from like a, how do we steer the planet? It's like we've discovered this old lost cockpit to the Starship Enterprise. It's all dusty and everything, and there's like a mini skirt draped over here, and a couple of stiffs over there, and we're kind of moving the stiffs out of the way of the seats. And it's like, wait a second, this thing actually works. This budding collective super intelligence. So what we're really talking about here is dusting off the bridge and starting to steer the ship. As crazy as it sounds, let it sound crazy. I don't care. Let's do it. Let's not evaluate whether it sounds crazy or not. Let's just freaking do it. Right? Any questions or comments about what we're up to? Let's call this the case for strategy. Does that make sense? We're making the case for strategy and for a network of conversations in support of that strategy and for key pillars in support of that network of conversations, namely the press conference, snack bar, the conversation, etc. Any questions or comments?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We need a strategy. You go nowhere. Food
You broke up there a bit, Marco.
Food first is definitely a good plan. People with full bellies are happy people. Happy people do happy work. Starving people are a little distracted and they can't focus on other important things. Fill their bellies so they can be more productive.
I totally agree, but it's not just the starving people who we need to address. It's the whole game itself, right? We've been born into captivity, into a game called hoard or die, or hoard for survival or die. And so we're all taught to be good hoarders. Hoard, right? And we get so focused on this game of hoarding, right, that we lose sight, we lose track of anything else that's important. It becomes like the heroin addict mother of a couple of babies who neglects her babies so that she can get high, right? We're so focused on this addictive hoarding that we're neglecting our own mother, our sisters, our brothers, our children. We're neglecting everything that matters. And we're all forced into this ridiculous hunger game of hoard or die. That's how I see it, just to build off of what you're saying. So, we need a strategy to get out of this trap of this hunger game that we're in, right? And that's where I'm saying, yes, we need to talk strategy. So let's build a framework for it. Let's build infrastructure for strategy. So we can have hundreds, thousands of different conversations going on about strategy and cross-pollinating and this and that until somewhere in that whole big shakeup emerges some brilliant strategy where it's like, no way, we can do that. Yeah. Well, how long is it going to take? Where are we going to do it this weekend? We're doing a hackathon this weekend. Let's get it done. Because then it becomes this popular like movement. And this is where we can all then get behind it. But where's the it? What I'm suggesting is we can find it, the missing strategy, in conversation. And more specifically, a network of conversations that's really tightly integrated. As tightly integrated as Christopher's dreadlocks. I mean, just like weaving together, right? All right, I'm gonna pause. One. Okay, after a brief pause, Jimena.
Yes, I was remembering the idea that Dr. Salish gave about being in the cocoon also, us together and building this new humanity from a cocoon all together. That we were the butterflies that were going to come out, and it gets me to understand that we really need to, like, the strategy can also be like filling these gaps of the programming and the idiosyncrasies, the differences we have as cultures and as human beings, because we have different programming, we have different situations going on that need to be considered and explained and also taught, because this is what is going to get us really united in empathy and solidarity, compassion. Because if we don't understand the grounds that we come from and the backgrounds that we have, not only the historic grounds, because we've been seeing this like um, some kind of um, disagreements that could could bring out to light some differences among people, because we don't agree exactly on feeling the same or being in the place of the other person, because this is very hard, because we don't have the same programming, because people has lived different situations in life, and maybe, to put it some way, someone hates the Germans just because his father died in a war and he was killed by the Germans, right? And someone doesn't want to approach um, to a person, an Afro-American, because that happened to him directly. So we need to understand that um, it's not the people that happened to me or to my family, but a whole nation, right? A whole a bunch of fellows trying to find out how to solve this, and understanding each other, to because that's the basic thing that we need to start doing as a strategy. I think that is my opinion, right?
Yeah, I would say that the mutual understanding is like a prerequisite. It's a fundamental, like, if we don't have if we don't have shared understanding, forget about us coming together around any kind of strategy, right? I think that's one of the things I hear of what you're saying,
Yes.
right?
Yes, to get rid of this programming that is also like retaining us to give its best of this project that we all have together. Because it is humanity, it's not another new nation, it's just humanity, right?
Yeah, get rid of the programming that we were born into and get to our essence, our core. Who are we really? What are we really? Right? And then what kind of new programming, right? Because let's just take the food first, program, right? There we're going to be programming the world that, you know, food is not something you need to fight for or go out and scrounge for or kill for or die for. Food is something that is simply provided to everyone in the most compassionate way possible. That's new programming. And we're programming ourselves, I believe, to a whole new game, a whole new reality, a whole new story. Who are we? Why are we here? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Right? This is all a new story for humanity. So it's new programming. So it's understanding the old programming, in many cases, deprogramming, right? Running the antivirus software and deprogramming these idea viruses that got in there and got us all screwed up. Like we need to be rich in order to be sexy, you know, and rich at all costs, no matter who you harm, no matter if you're chopping down the last mahogany tree, do it, man. If that'll make you more money, do it. That's the game, right? And in a nutshell, that's why we're destroying the forests and the oceans and the Arctic and everything, the whole planet. So, yeah, deprogramming, reprogramming, designing a new game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is all within the realm of strategy. How do we do it? This all sounds nice. How do we do it? Strategy is where the rubber hits the road. And once you have a defined strategy, then you can bring it down to earth with a plan. It's okay, now let's do a detailed plan based on this grand strategy. So grand strategy begets detailed plan. But then as soon as you start implementing that detailed plan, poof, you've got new information, new feedback, and you update the strategy. So it's a totally dynamic thing. All right.
We need to re-educate ourselves in so many ways to really get the sense of what we are doing here and understanding us as human beings, and for breaking like the divisions that we have in our prejudices and in our ways of thinking, so many things. And we are here to do that. Like we've been sharing that with people already. Like, you know, this cannot be said because of this and that, and you could be hurtful, and this could be harming, and this is not going to be treated this way. And, you know, like these are the principal things that we need to set as agreements here, and to be clear about it, right? And
Yeah.
sharing this education is basic.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when you said we need to re-educate ourselves, what came to mind to me is we also need to redesign ourselves, right?
Yes.
Because let's say I'm a skydiver and I'm skydiving through the air and I'm just this great skydiver. I can do all these tricks and flips and whatever, right? And so I have a certain definition of myself as a skydiver. Okay, fast forward several months. I go meditate, I have a big epiphany, and then I say, no, skydiving, it's something, let's do it together in formation. And we start forming these circles and crazy eights and all this stuff, but all in formation. So I've redesigned myself as we've redesigned ourselves as a whole, not as a bunch of individuals doing their own tricks, but
Exactly.
as a whole. Redesign ourselves as a team, as a community, ultimately as one world, all species, right? What would that look like? Certainly humanity can achieve it. I'm saying it's possible. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's certainly possible. And maybe that's not it. Maybe that's not the it. Maybe it's not just one totally united humanity. Maybe it's different segments, but working together as a whole orange, like different sections of an orange. I don't know how it's going to shake up, but we need a new reality. And we need a strategy to get the world into that new reality. right? So the strategy involves the vision at the end. I've just been calling it simply save, heal, and transform life on Earth, right? But, you know, we need to refine that. Where are we trying to get to? What is this world we're trying to get to? What is this world we want? Certain things are obvious. It needs to be cool, a lot cooler than now, and not exponentially overheating like it is now. You know, there needs to be peace among humanity. We need to leave the forests alone and do whatever we can to help them regenerate, right? So certain things are obvious, but, you know, what's the rest of the story? Like, what's the mission now? Is it just be good gardeners and cultivators and caretakers of the rest of the species, and we don't really matter? You know, what do we do at night? Just flog ourselves and then get up the next morning early and keep doing, you know, or you know, what's the purpose? Why are we here? Is it just to be caretakers, or is it to go interplanetary and go and spread humanity throughout different planets and star systems? Is it to connect with other intelligent life? So we have a whole bunch we need to figure out. The food first strategy for me is just start with the obvious and go from there. So it's not even a complete, it just says, listen, do these obvious things first so we can at least stabilize the ship, feed everyone, cool the planet, right? So, you know, a strategy is never complete. It's always just a beginning, I think, because when you get to the end of it, all right, you're in a whole new reality. And then what? But you can't even conceive of that. It's like, let's first get the hell out of this hell. And then, you know, when we collectively breathe a huge sigh of relief, oh, that was a close one. You know, then I think we're going to be in a whole new place. Then it makes sense, right? It's kind of like if we're escaping from a, you know, molten lava that's just 2 feet behind us, you know, and I look over at Christopher. Hey, Christopher, what do you want to do when we get the hell out of here? And he looks back and he says, I don't know, but let's just get out of here first, and then we can figure that over beers or something, right? So I'm saying we're not exactly in the best position to figure out what we want to be. Number one, we're trapped in this game called hoard or die. Hoard for survival. Hoard or die. Hoard or starve. We're trapped, right? And the planet's on fire. Our house is on fire. Mother's hair is on fire. Our brother and sister species are dying. So we're not really in the best frame of mind to even figure out. So, but let's at least focus on how do we get out of this mess. But you see, then comes this debate that says, well, we don't just want to survive, man. We want to thrive. So let's make it more inspiring than just surviving. And so, you know, I get that. But what could be more inspiring than putting out the fire right now? Saving the Amazon, saving as many brother and sister species, saving ourselves, feeding the starving. You know, yes, it's okay to dream about pink unicorns, but wouldn't it be nice to feed those starving kids? Come on. So for me, the most inspiring thing is feed the starving, stop the decimation of the biosphere and so many species, and cool the planet. That's inspiring. And then that's us sitting and drinking some margaritas, having escaped the volcanic lava, right? And saying, okay, now what do we want to do next? Let's think about it. Let's think about it slowly, all right? Let's enjoy it. Let's order another round, right? Why not? Right? So I don't know. But see, this is part of what we need to figure out when we come together to talk strategy. How complete do we need to be? Strategy for what? Short term, long term? Well, let's talk about it, right? For me, I'm most focused on the next few months. How do we feed everyone, transform humanity, get us out of the game of survival, and cool the planet? For me, those are the hot ones. How do we transform humanity to get out of this omnicidal game of survival and into a new game of cooperation? I mean, it's a lot to behold, right? I mean, I get overloaded enough just trying to talk about one strategy, much less this vast framework to hold thousands of strategies. Like, what? You know? So we're talking about big stuff here, stuff that we don't normally think about in our day-to-day lives, right? But I'm saying we need to challenge ourselves to think about this stuff, because that will help us build a better press conference, a better snack bar, better infrastructure with which we can grow better strategies. We're like gardeners of strategy. We have this vast garden that we're suddenly responsible for. And we're letting all these flowers, strategic flowers, bloom and pollinate and cross-pollinate. It's super exciting. And it's big. And it could make the difference between life and death for all of complex life. I haven't heard of a better plan to save life on Earth than the one we're talking about right now, frankly. Which is inclusive of an infinite number of conversations all over the Zoomosphere. This isn't some proprietary thing we're talking about here. We're talking about organizing, you know, the world's conversations like Google set out to organize the world's information. It's big, it's unbounded, and it's undefined. And we're just jumping in the dark, groping our way around.
Yeah, I'm you know, being awfully quiet because I'm thinking of, you know, strategy, and it sounds deceivingly simple at first. Food first. Yeah, we you know, it makes no sense to do a lot of other things while people are dying of starvation. If our main concern is saving life, uh, we have to do what it takes to save the most life soonest. The problem comes in where, okay, so we have to have enough people, we have to have enough manpower, we have to touch enough. You know, this is not a new phrase. We got to win some hearts and minds. Not just minds, not just hearts and minds. It takes both. You know, it takes the heart to really want to do the good things, and it takes the mind to do the technical work. And you know, it starts, okay, feed people, but then it's like, well, if we're going to feed people, you need to feed them good food. Now we've in two ways. So somebody has to be in charge of making sure the food is healthy. Now, healthy food has to be grown in a healthy way. So we've got to attack the agriculture problem. And it's going to take a lot of people. So, and absolutely, these things don't happen without strategy. So we're in the right place right now with the strategy. And it's exciting. It definitely is. But now we got to get to that next step now. We know we need strategy. Do we have enough strategists here? Do we need a few more? I think we probably need a few more. And we need people to take responsibility and not just while it's new and fresh. You know, you have to see it through. You have to see it through to the end. And a lot of people are excited. Oh, this is great. I'm gonna save people. I'm gonna save the Amazon. I'm gonna save this. And while it's new and exciting, they're here. But we got to look at the long term. What's going to keep people at, nose to the grindstone. And part of that is going to be making it enjoyable. No, we're done with putting in the 40 hours at the miserable job that all we can think about is getting out of. And as soon as we're out of it, all we can think about is how many more hours could I put in so I could have a better life that I'm not going to be home to enjoy because I'm spending more hours to afford more stuff to be happier, and it never happens. So that goes back to what Jimena said. We have to change the programming, re-educate, and we gotta find a few more strategists. We need that tipping point of manpower.
Well, I would say we need not just a few more. How about a few tens of thousands more?
I didn't want to make it seem too difficult. I don't want to lose people on the on the way.
No, I hear you. But for me, it's really about humanity really, a critical mass of humanity getting into the game, the real game of saving life on Earth, right? And it just feels to me kind of obvious that, that's on its own exponential. So I think what we're doing here is co-creating the architecture and infrastructure. We're contributing to the co-creation of the architecture and infrastructure for a robust network of conversations in which strategic conversations can happen, as well as conversations about very specific solutions, which could fit into any number of strategies, right? Like a Tesla truck. The Tesla truck is a solution, but it could fit into gazillions of strategies, right? So we need a network of conversations that supports solution development, strategy development, right? Going from strategies to plans, details, et cetera, et cetera. We need the ability to summon our sisters and brothers who have specific talents or knowledge to come into specific conversations at the right time and help us go boom, 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 right? And cover milestone after milestone in the conversation until we get to whatever conclusion we're seeking, right? But all of this occurs within this vast and growing population of conversations. It's just like this giant Greek forum where just like all these dudes with beards and robes and stone tablets are just mingling around from conversation to conversation, right? But we're doing it in the cloud. Careful you don't drop your stone tablets. It's a long way down, right? But this is what we're doing. I mean, what else, right? We're doing what makes sense to us, right, to contribute to the overall. And that's what's so exciting. And it just seems like all the groups and communities that are moving in a similar direction, we're all finding each other. The press conference is going to help a whole bunch find out. It already has, right? In its early form. We haven't even created the snack bar yet, right? So there's so much ahead of us to do, right? So anyway, yes, Jimena.
I want to say that as ambitious as this program could be, because it's really ambitious and it's something that many people is going to think, oh no, that's impossible. We need to start thinking also in turning into ambitious and thirsty people for the knowledge of other people. So recruiting while teaching, while cherishing, while making friendships, while doing whatever relationship we can is the basis of this. Like being ambitious with the people, because what I have thought about it when the press conference has already been in this period of resting, somehow cooking, right? For returning with the best attitude ever and positivity, because this is a season period, and we understand that we have this break, right? But we need to teach people to be ambitious with other people and how to get other people, because this is also education. It's not only you convince someone to come, is what exactly are you gonna do here, and take the time to explain people what are we doing here, why are we doing it, what is our ambition, because we need to be ambitious. Okay, because big dreams are like that, otherwise they don't work out. So we need also to be ambitious in getting people here to come, to share, to commit with the project, and not just a few, but many. Okay, so I think that that would also be interesting to have someone talking about social abilities, skills to get people to persuade. Like, we need to know a lot of things, but that is one of the basic things, because having people like with the big expertise in some areas is what is going to make this happen, right? So I guess that we also need to be ambitious getting people here, and everybody needs to commit to that, like bringing them, not just sharing for the sake of sharing. Like, you can share whatever and it will remain in the cloud, you know.
You know, I just figured out a different approach to what you're saying, if I may, if I'm not interrupting. Okay. So
Of course, yes, go ahead.
you're saying, like, you know, get other people and get them here. Okay. When I want to get like a 2-year-old child, baby, to do something, I don't ask it to do it. I start doing the thing and smiling and having fun with it. And then they come over on their own, right? And so I think that a much better approach is to say, hey, check out this snack bar. It's like really cool. There's just like, it's just popping with all these conversations, and you can just take these 2-minute sushi bites, right? And so so imagine that we focus on building a great snack bar, even if it's simple for starters, right? We start, and then share. So make it eat, and then they'll want to come in. You know, give them an eat. Don't say, listen, I want to recruit you. I want you to commit, and I want you to come here, and I want you to keep going. And it's just like, whoa, am I like joining some new religion that's just like going to take over my life? What is this? So anyway, I'm just saying, you know, a different perspective.
I didn't mean like a sales strategy. No, I meant that we really need to teach people social skills for bringing people here also, and make this enjoyable and funny and an incredible experience to be here. Because the ones that we are already here and have tried what is to be here, really, we already know that. But we need to do this like contagious, like infect other people with our willing for them to be here. Like you say, like enjoying and like sharing, and but not just a few, but everyone doing their work for bringing them here.
Well, you know, it's interesting. That gets to the strategy, the heart of the strategy of food first, because I think by doing the food, focusing on food first, right, will actually exponentiate the growth of people coming here and joining all these conversations. But anyway, we'll get to that in the next video. Yeah, but that's all part of it. Strategy. But you've hit on all these essential parts of the strategy, Jimena. Thank you. Everyone here has. So onward.
Anyway, so after a pause, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for participating, Jimena, Christopher, Marco, and let's move forward with these conversations about strategy and about the platforms that are facilitating the conversations about strategy, the network of conversations. Onward and upward. Thank you all.